안녕하세요. 이번엔 던전스 4 해보죠. 이게 3편을 해본 적이 있나? 1편이랑 2편은 옛날에 해봤던 것 같아. 어? 뭐야? 응? 음? 이게 혹시 옛날에 던전 키퍼 기억하실 분들은 기억하실지 모르겠는데 그런 거 비슷한 게임이에요. 근데 던전 키퍼는 던전에서만 했으면 이거는 이제 던전 안에서도 그 던전 키퍼처럼 하고 심지어 밖으로 나가서 공격까지 하는.
The game buying evil was ready for its fourth adventure. Welcome.
던전 키퍼의 조금 플러스 알파? 그런 거라고 생각하시면 돼요. 오, 중국어가 있네요. 가볼까요?
The Last Stand. Tanya set about destroying the last remaining heroes. Amongst others, her stepbrother Tristan.
어? 이어지나 본데요? 한 편을 했는지 기억이 안 나는데 얘가 한 편 주인공인 건가? 방금 이지로 돼 있지 않았어요? 뭐로 돼 있는 거지?
The Last Stand. Tanya set about destroying the last remaining.
이건
The
이지로 돼 있었던 것
Last
같은데.
Stand. Tanya set about destroying the last remaining heroes. Amongst others, her stepbrother Tristan. Once upon a time, long, long ago in, hell, well, you know the rest, the absolute evil had, in the fabulous predecessor to this game, taken over the entire overworld with its creatures. Now it spent its time on debauched parties and... Wait a minute. The entire overworld? No! One small village of indomitable heroes still held out against the invaders. The unamused evil was beside itself with rage. But all this was about to change once and for all, because the remote controlling evil sent its most vicious general into the field, the Dark Elf Talia. Talia, also known from the fabulous predecessor, came back from her vacation in a thoroughly good mood. Before that, she had defeated her foster father, the paladin Tanos. This fact is important to note. For this last remaining village of heroes was protected by none other than Tristan, foster son of Tanos and Talia's stepbrother. This proud warrior in shining, his handsome heroic chest accentuating armor, was the last glimmer of hope for the forces of good. Talia, who had fully embraced the dark side, couldn't wait to really kick her stepbrother's ass. And so our story begins. The last defenders of good were fighting for their survival. This seemed to be the perfect time for Tristan to make his appearance, the last mighty hero of the good races.
My brothers! In your eyes I see the same fear that would lead me to despair. The day may come when the courage of true heroes is extinguished, when we abandon our companions and all bonds of friendship are broken. But that day is still far off. Stand fast, heroes of the West!
And with those familiar-sounding words, Tristan charged into battle to the cheers of his men. The heroes of good had managed to capture some of the evil creatures. Nevertheless, it was more than questionable whether a few minor victories and a brilliant speech could do anything against the absolute evil's armies. A storm of darkness and gloom descended, heralding the arrival of Talia, the absolute evil's general. This entrance not only panicked the defenders of good, but also seemed to strengthen the creatures of evil.
Hey, I'm back! Time to kick a little hero butt. Forward, creatures! Show me what you can do! Punch 'em smack dab in the mouth! Smash 'em in the face! Oh, and just as a precaution, get me my handbook of worn-out third-rate catchphrases. Ha-ha! If my eyes don't deceive me, that's my stupid stepbrother Tristan over there too, just waiting for me to lovingly put his head on a spear. Ha! Today is gonna be a good day.
Talia seemed to be very sure of victory. Some might find this puzzling, as it was the beginning of a long new campaign. But okay, maybe the rest of the missions are nothing but a string of debauched victory celebrations. Who knows?
A few pitiful opponents. I'm gonna massacre you. If I can just remember how that works again.
Fortunately, Talia's instincts took over at this point, something which wannabe pro gamers often refer to as auto-attack. Talia also remembered that she had a few skills that she could invoke whenever she felt like it.
Oh, right! Boom! That's how it's done.
Talia's mighty storm once again stood at her disposal.
이것도 이동 어택이 있었는데?
And another one for the Grim Reaper. Or Grim Reaperess, I'm not picky. Hey, did someone actually cage my subordinates? Ah, forget that. I'm the only one who's allowed to do that. Time to bust these things open, pulverize them, nuke 'em!
Your creatures have destroyed a cage. Talia had freed all the creatures. Not to be outdone by her stepbrother, she too gave a brilliant speech.
Speech? Sure. Creatures! Time to punch the do-gooders right in the kisser! Forward! Punch 'em in the face, kick 'em in the shins, break their belt buckles so they trip on their pants.
Yes. Very inspiring.
있었는데? 아, 이것도 F구나.
Ba-boom! Dead heroes!
Talia had reached the center of battle. With another brilliant speech, she goaded her creatures on one more time.
Another speech? Oh. Ding dong, the hero's dead. That okay?
Honestly, I don't know if I can work with you like this. After Talia's words, the creatures surged forward and flocked to their linguistically under-talented leader. Or would like to, but the defenses on the left and right flanks made progress impossible. Talia had to destroy them in order to receive further support. The hero's defense collapsed on the right flank. The monstrous evil's creatures flocked to Talia.
Excellent. I can always use more cannon fodder. I mean, loyal subordinates.
The hero's left defensive flank could no longer withstand the breaching evil's creatures.
Yippee-ki-yay, hero mucker!
Talia, stepsister! You dare to show your face here after killing our foster father!
Yeah. Is that a trick question? You can see I'm here. Thanos deserved what he got. And I thought to myself, hey, like father, like son.
You will pay for your deeds, sister. The light will protect me. Sister, turn from evil and come back to the side of good. See the power of light.
With these words, Tristan was bathed in a golden light that seemed to protect him. As if that were not troublesome enough, a number of magical portals opened at the same time.
Huh. As if this wasn't dragging on way too long already. Can't we just jump straight to the point where I greedily take over the world? Forward, creatures! Smash Smash the portals! Flatten that magic junk! Pull the plug!
My brothers! In your eyes, I see the same fear that would lead me to despair. The day may come when the courage of true heroes is extinguished, when we abandon our companions and all bonds of friendship are broken. But that day is still far off. Stand fast, heroes of the West!
Oh, didn't you spout that same bullshit earlier? In exactly the same words.
No, not at all. I am known for my brilliant speeches, wicked stepsister.
I seem to remember that whenever you were supposed to speak in front of the class, we had to get a mop.
You'll pay for that. Onward, faithful! Destroy the evil!
All the magical portals had been destroyed, and with them, Tristan's shield went up in smoke.
That's the way I like it. Now, where were we? Oh, yeah. I was just about to kick my stepbrother's butt.
Sister, it doesn't have to end this way. Join me. Together we can still save the world.
Oh, can't you just die and spare us all the embarrassing melodrama?
Talia! This isn't the end! We'll meet again!
With these words, Tristan quickly created a portal and threw himself through it with the last of his strength. The portal closed again behind him.
Treachery! Fraud! Cheater! This was supposed to be my victory! And what the hell kind of glove is that anyway? Looks to me like game design forgot to balance the thing properly.
Maybe the people in charge were still too captivated by your great speech. It brought tears to my eyes too, however, not of emotion.
As if the bird brains these evil creatures have needed grand speeches. A few skulls to bash in, and the social calendar for the evening is filled.
Well, each to their own. But apparently, Tristan had suffered a mishap, as the aforementioned magic glove still lay in the place where it was last used. It would seem that he had accidentally lost it.
Wonderful. This thing is just what I need. Très chic. I'll, just grab that right away.
And so our story begins. Tristan had managed to give Talia the slip, but she had been able to capture his magic glove. The Gauntlet of Finitude, a fabled artifact. Unfortunately, UI overlays don't work in cutscenes, so Talia couldn't read just exactly what the glove did. Nevertheless, she proudly presented it to the Absolute Evil in its form as the Dungeon Lord. And so misfortune took its course, because at the same time, Talia wanted to demonstrate how loudly she could snap her fingers. But this snap, which would go down in the history books as the Dungeon Lord snap, unleashed horrific forces that were discharged into the Dungeon Lord himself. As Talia rose to her feet, the gauntlet had disappeared, and the Dungeon Lord lay dying. Viewers often began to cry at this point, because it made them think back to the last really good superhero movie. Talia mourned for about 5 seconds. Talia had shattered the realms of good and served them onto the absolute evil on a silver platter, while it had actually done nothing at all. So Talia now became the absolute ruler. She had no clue about how to rule, but more than made up for it with hubris and consistently ignoring glaring problems. In addition, she surrounded herself with a staff of incompetent advisors. What could possibly go wrong? 10 minutes later, Tristan had captured Talia, locked her in a cage, and put the armies of absolute evil to flight. And so the story ends. We'll tell you how the story continues in overpriced microtransaction bites. Oh, wait, wrong script. That's a different developer. Hang in there, I've almost got it. While Talia was ignominiously taken away, the unused essence of absolute evil continued to float through the ether. It wasn't about to admit defeat that easily, but for evil to triumph once again, it needed Talia back, for better or for worse. And so the swirling essence of absolute evil set about commanding the perplexed-looking chaotic hordes and freeing Talia. Hammer time! Round 2. The essence of absolute evil held the horde together and rose to the challenge of vicious dwarven engineering.
Tristan! Let me out of this damned cage, you stupid little good elf. Otherwise, I'll have a hard time wringing your scrawny neck. What the hell do you want from me anyway?
Talia, stepsister, your deplorable deeds must not go unpunished. You have slain our foster father Tanos, a blasphemous affront to our goddess, whom you, to top it all off, have also slain. But we will have plenty of time to argue on our journey. I am here for the stone. Brynhild, if you please.
You know you can, you little cutie. Oi! Go on, you lazy lot. Get that destroyer of worlds class hammer going.
Talia had been captured. Only the bubbling around the place essence of absolute evil could save her. It was amusing to leave Talia in the clutches of her brother. But on the other hand, without her help, the shapeless evil would probably just roam the countryside as a disembodied something or other and at best be hired for third-rate horror movies. Fortunately, a forgotten dungeon heart lying in the underground could quickly be reactivated. Together with the creatures of the Horde, it would be easy to smash the do-gooder heroes there to smithereens. The wafting evil had to get rid of that dwarven contraption on the overworld, as it posed a threat to the underground, and with it, the dungeon heart. It was therefore necessary to build a mighty dungeon, or rather, to have one built, because, as a wafting essence, the disembodied evil could not do much itself.
왜 안 부숴?
The gold-hungry evil had built a treasury. The meager amount that could be stored in the throne room was simply not even close to enough for a proper gold bath.
왜 던전 키퍼랑 비슷하다고 했는지 아시겠죠? 그냥 똑같아요. 메커니즘 자체가 똑같아요. 없어야 되는구나. 여기서 나오는구나. 저희 여기 있어? 나요? 좀 변한 것 같은데. 근데 보셨다시피 타일벽 뭐 그런 거 부수는 배그나 뭐 그런 것들이 많아요. 뭐 취향 차이가 많은 게임이라고 할까? 근데 이거 말고도 뭐 있었는데? 이거 말고도 던전 키퍼 비슷한 게임들이 은근히 있거든요. 다 비슷한 게임.
Ding dong, it's payday.
뭐지? 아. 밥 먹여야 되니까.
The gluttony-loving evil had built a gobbler farm. Here, delicious gobblers were raised to serve as food for the horde.
기본적인 거 다 가르쳐주는구나. 테크트리 뭐 타야 되는지를 알려주는 건가? 돈이 없구나. 요거 핑크 안 맞아야지.
The sheltering evil had built a hideout for the horde's creatures. These could henceforth build themselves a place to rest there. The army raising evil had recruited its first creature, a bit underwhelming considering that it was sitting on the throne of the gods a short time ago. But fresh starts are never easy. The evilest evil could use the Hand of Terror, not only to intervene, but also to lend its little snots the impetus they needed by giving them a spirited slap. The attitude-adjusting evil had struck one of its little snots. Frightened, the detestable evil had earned some delicious evilness. Excellent things could be done with it, such as exploring new stuff. However, first, a place had to be found where the evilness could be stored. The absolute evil quickly built a vault of evilness.
내가 돈이 많이 없어서 게임 스피드 없다.
Ding dong, it's payday. The glamorous evil had built a vault of evilness. This allowed it to henceforth store evilness and use it. A new
Oi! No need to sit around being lazy when we could be picking up a little gold while we're here, eh? On you go, lads. Grab the nearest gold vein.
Sooner or later, the greedy dwarves would dig their way into the dungeon. The perfidious evil used a workshop to prepare traps to stop the gold-stealing dwarves in their tracks.
Oi! How long is this stone thing going to take, lads? Snookums and I weren't planning on dying of old age here.
I sure hope not, because I have a whole different set of plans for just how you lot are gonna...
Technological progress has almost always been a fine thing. Further research could not only make new units or rooms available, but also increase the maximum number of little snots or creatures. The hard work allowing evil had built a tinkerer's cave. Here, little snots could use the work units to make toolboxes, which were needed for the more extravagant dungeon accoutrements. The workforce hoarding evil had increased its maximum little snot limit and now had access to even more of the industrious little creatures. Hey, look, I realize you really get a kick out of slapping your creatures, but they're not really the enemy here. Maybe you should reassess your priorities. The cunning evil had placed the first traps. This would make it much harder for the greedy dwarves to steal the gold from the treasury or even destroy the dungeon heart itself. Payday! Creatures are collecting their pay.
무서운 날. 또 된 것 같은데?
Oi!
맞다.
Something dug into my little gold mine. Yeah! And it had to be stinking orcs, whose skulls are at best used as toilet paper holders in the lavatory. Okay, boys, tear this joint to the ground.
Dwarves had opened a passage into the dungeon. The little snots immediately executed Order 67, as they had been instructed to do by Talia in such a case, which meant that they ran through the dungeon with their arms flapping wildly. At the same time, they opened the secret trap cache so that the tricky evil could give the dwarves a very warm welcome. The dungeon heart is being attacked.
Oi! Did you little honey buns forget your little baby bottles? Or how did you manage to lose to a bunch of lousy orcs? But fine. We still have some reinforcements here. Reinforcements? Attack!
Obviously, the danger from the dwarves had not yet been neutralized. Luckily, the little snots had made a few traps in their spare time, and they were only too happy to make available to the all-consuming evil. Your gold vein is nearly exhausted.
이런 거. 트랩 설치해야 돼.
Payday! Creatures are collecting their pay. area of the dungeon has been discovered. Defend the dungeon heart. The little snot's trap glittered and gleamed. Soon, gold-hungry dwarves would be biting their teeth out on it as they unknowingly fast-tracked for a quick demise. Your little snots have completely mined out a gold vein. It's payday. You have unearthed a new area in the dungeon. saw trap was perfectly suited for cutting tree trunks, but since they wouldn't become a resource until Dungeons 5, it would have to settle for dwarves for now.
아이씨, 풀어놓고 혼자 중얼중얼 거리네. 그 많이?
Payday!
여기도 있고. 일단 이거 공간 없어서 딴 데로 가져가는구나. 도망쳐.
The saw trap's blades whirred along the wall, just waiting for bread to slice, or heroes, whichever came first.
막는 거는 저렇게 하면 이제 끝난 거 같아.
Another saw trap was mounted halfway up to be even more effective against dwarves.
소리 다시 줘야 될 것 같아. 이 정도면 괜찮고, 나쁜 짓을 해야 되는데 할 수 없는데? 오늘 뭐 하시네요? 그만해. 내가 안 가도 돼. 가서 싸우고 있어. 깃발로 조종하는 게 있었는데?
Ding dong, it's payday.
어떻게 하는 거더라? 압력을 더 줘야 되는 거. 음. 아, 이거지. 돈은 많으니까. 돈이 너무 많아. 큰일 났다. 돈은 많은데, 그, 수가 없어요. 쏘고 오지 않을라? 그동안, 도망쳐, 얘들아.
A Thrasher trap not only took out one hero, it also provided any and all surrounding heroes with some nutritious cauliflower at the same time. Cauliflower ears, that is. A thrasher had been set up and was waiting for heroes who dared to go near the carousel. The thrasher was a very powerful trap, just waiting to slap several heroes to nirvana at the same time.
뭐였다.
A thrasher trap not only took out one hero, it also provided any and all surrounding heroes with some nutritious cauliflower at the same time. Cauliflower ears, that is.
뭐, 뭐 어떻게 해야 되는 거야? 공간이 많이 필요한가?
It's payday.
와봐라 그래. 어떻게 되나 보자. 아, 그리고 컨트롤이 정확하게 깃발 뽑는 게 있었는데 예전에 그냥 보내면 되는데. 골드. 가봐야 얘들아. 밥 먹고 있을 테니. 어디가? 응?
It's payday.
이렇게 하는 게 아닌데. 이건 도대체 어떻게 설치를 하는 거야? 어? 응? 그러면 리밋에 걸리는구나 이거. 이러면 또
Heyday.
원래 훈련소, 고문소 뭐 이런 거 다 있는데 달려나? 된다. 이 몰라. 어? 잘못 떴.
A new area of the dungeon has been discovered.
응? 요걸 주는다는 완전 다른 걸 써.
Payday!
잘한다.
The dwarves were defeated for the time being. Satisfied, the essence of absolute evil rubbed something together that could perhaps pass for two hands together. The all-destroying evil had conquered the exit. This left the way to the surface open for its troops. The absolute evil's creatures blinked a little as they stepped into the glaring light of the sun. Finally, they could lay waste not only to the boring corridors of the dungeon, but also to the lush green meadows of the overworld. The horrific evil had destroyed a camp in the overworld. The defeated heroes ran away crying and tried to entrench themselves behind even higher walls. You have destroyed a cage. The vile evil had destroyed another of the heroes' camps. Screaming at the top of their voices, the survivors took to their heels.
쇼컷이 있고 돌아가는 길이 있는 거 둘 다 가고요.
A cage was destroyed and creatures were freed. Ding dong, it's payday.
중국정은 뭐 할 게 없으니.
I have to protect the blueprint, Snookums. Otherwise, the orcs will eventually end up building some decent machinery here. Well then, keep your chin up, Toodles.
Brynhild, what are you doing? I thought your dwarfs could easily handle a few orcs.
Problems, brother mine? Oh, what a shame. I had actually already planned on making myself a tea set out of dwarf skulls.
Talia, your evilness truly knows no bounds. These dwarfs are part of the Alliance of Good. You were also once part of that alliance.
야, 우리 집 부서지면 우리 다 죽는 건데.
The path to the dwarves' oversized hammer lay open. The trembling heroes prepared themselves for the final battle. The dwarven equipment spectacularly went up in flames, which was rather odd, as the creatures had only been hitting the thing with their weapons. But fine, perhaps horde weapons were made of flint. Yet the distraction provided by the dwarven intervention had shifted the destruction-loving evil's focus long enough for Talia and her stepbrother Tristan to disappear into the distance. With an imaginary sigh, the staggering evil took one last look around before setting off in pursuit. The path led to the Hellwoods, an eerie place claimed by the demonic creatures of the underworld. The Hellwoods. Talia was taken ever deeper into the lands by her stepbrother Tristan. They passed through the Hellwoods, a hotbed of demons. In the underground beneath the Hellwoods, Talia's stepbrother Tristan was tampering with the remains of a dungeon long thought forgotten. But the demonic evil's henchmen were hard on his heels and were also slogging their way through the underground. Tristan had no choice but to retreat.
My brothers! In your eyes I see the same fear that would lead me to despair. The day may come when the...
Tristan, you good-for-nothing imbecile! Can't you just shut up for once, or finally come up with a different speech? That's so... Hey! Are those my armies of evil? Here! Get me out of here so I can personally kick my stepbrother's butt! Go ahead! Finish them off! Give it to them! Push away past the expiry date cake, right in their faces!
Never! The power of magic flows through me! A magic barrier will keep those creatures at bay!
It seemed that Tristan did actually have some small knowledge of magic. His barrier was impenetrable to conventional attacks. Where magic was concerned, however, things looked just a little different. The spellbook perusing evil quickly set about tackling this problem underground. Before the mana-craving evil could resort to magic, it would first have to take care of the demons. It made perfect sense to have a vortex built to house demonic creatures.
많아. 아까 거기 되게 꿀자리였는데. 이모. 가들러. 저거는 뭐 이거지라는 건가? 봐야겠네. 그런 거 같아. 응? 워크샵인데? 아, 워크샵을 줘야 되는 건가?
A new area of the dungeon has been discovered.
나는 아닌가? 그쵸? 하나? 사다리 좀 주셔야 될 것 같은데?
Stand fast, men! There may come a day when courage fails us, but it is not this day. On this day we fight! By all that you hold dear on this good earth, I call you to stand firm, brothers of the kingdom! Let us lay waste to the dungeon! Attack!
Ah, you stole that speech. I've heard something very similar to that before.
That's beside the point. Those words inspired my men. The pen is mightier than the sword.
But weaker than a horde battle axe. It's just too bad that I can't be there to watch the show because I'm stuck in your stupid cage.
A new area has been unearthed in the dungeon. The never went to hogwash evil's little snot had built an arcanium. Should one of these droll little workers manage to find the time, mana would from now on be produced here. A little snot set about generating mana in the arcanium to make it available to the spell-wielding evil. Some parts of the underground were saturated with mana. Once dug up, this could be used to cast spells. The mana-addicted evil wanted to try this out as soon as possible. Doors in the dungeon not only reduced drafts, but could also stop heroes and other enemies in their tracks for a short time. They also increased the efficiency of rooms. It therefore made sense to have a door to close off a production room. Building evil had a vortex built. There, hired demons found shelter and a place to wait until they could be resurrected at the cost of evilness after an unforeseen demise.
여기 골드 앤 있나 보네요. 그러면
Payday! The researching evil had unlocked some spells that were now accessible through the spell menu. With a few casual gestures, the disembodied evil attentively cast one of the spells. The gallant evil had now gained access to a number of spells. Create resources, for example, allowed toolboxes or gobblers to quickly be created as if out of thin air. In keeping with his childlike disposition, the amused evil immediately tried this out.
아, 여기다가 했었어야 되나? 올렸는가 모르겠네요.
A first door now adorned the dungeon. The grandiose evil not only used it to increase the efficiency of rooms or to stop enemies for a short time, but it could also lock doors to seal off areas for its subordinates. The childish evil's eyes glowed with joy as it successfully used the Create Resources spell. This would allow stocks to be filled even without decent production. Enemies are in the dungeon.
경력 있어요? 있구나. 왼쪽이나 오른쪽으로 오겠구나. 못 막을 것 같은데?
The dungeon heart is being attacked. Ding dong, it's payday. A new area of the dungeon has been discovered. A new area of the dungeon has been discovered.
응? 아예 자는 곳이 필요가 없구나. 아, 그건 또 신기하네.
There are enemies in your dungeon.
일로 오는구나. 트랩을. 정신 차려 다들.
Payday.
애매한데? 뭐 이렇게 두고 갔다 와도 올 것 좀 걱정하고 싶은데?
A gold vein is almost exhausted.
몇 개도 있어. 괜찮아. 너무 먼데. 더 있을 것 같지 않아요?
A new area has been unearthed in the dungeon.
여긴 만화가 많구나.
A new area of the dungeon has been discovered.
볼텍스 크게 좀 키워도 될 것 같아.
A new area has been unearthed in the dungeon. Ding dong, it's payday. Your enemies are in the dungeon. A gold vein has been mined out. A gold vein has been mined out.
나 엄청 먹는구나. 역성 때리면 안 되네. 있는 거. 어?
Payday. Enemies have entered the dungeon.
아이고. 이 정도면 이제 가도 될 것 같은데? 할까요? 일단.
A gold vein is almost exhausted. Your little snots have completely mined out a gold vein. It's payday. The spoiled evil had discovered a few stray demons who were all too willing to join his dark army. Of all things, these were stuck in a rather awkward position. The perplexed evil pondered how to go about it. The ingenious evil had managed to return the scattered demons safely back to the dungeon by means of a spell.
이런.
Hey, Tristan, favorite, because only stepbrother. See my troops marching over there? I think they're gonna make short work of you.
Don't get your hopes up too soon, stepsister. My barrier and my men will stop them. We got what we wanted here, and we'll soon be on the road again.
Huh. Creatures, get me the hell out of here already! Come on, get a move on! Save me, free me, sign petitions demanding my release!
An arcane tear had appeared very close to the absurd evil's armies. These magical anomalies were not uncommon in the area and promised great power to those who knew how to use them. The creatures knew but one way to deal with these. The corrupting evil had captured an arcane tear. New power flowed through it, giving it the ability to now cast the meteor rain spell. As luck would have it, there was a group of heroes nearby who made worthy targets. The arcane tear's power could now be used by the spellcasting evil. Payday! Creatures are collecting their pay.
응? 얘들아, 금캐야지. 파워 부수라는 것 같은데. 응? 소나무.
Talia, I still can't believe you really did all that.
The merciless evil's army had reached the magical barrier. A spell would sweep it away. While the Cruciatus intoning evil was making its way through the protective barrier, Talia and Tristan continued upon their way.
Tristan, beloved brother, would you be so kind as to open this cage door for me? There is no need for us to argue.
Step-brother, and I simply cannot forgive you for slaying our foster father. Not to mention half of the good people of the country.
Only half? Ha! I mean, all that just kind of happened. I don't know how exactly it could all go so wrong either.
You put Tanos's head on a spear!
He bloody well deserved it! Time and again, I had to suffer insults from him and his henchmen simply because of my origins, as if all dark elves were evil.
You killed hundreds of heroes, slew father's companions, and put father's head on a spear!
They made me do it. It's society's fault.
Magic-using evil had conquered an arcane tear. Armed with that captured power, it could now use the Mana Shield spell. Ding dong, it's payday.
올드가 이게 끝일까요?
Tristan, I finally understand. I behaved poorly. If you let me out now, I vow to do better.
Really?
Of course not, you imbecile. I'd give you a wedgie worse than I ever gave you in our entire childhood. One you'd still be telling your grandchildren about, provided you can still have children and grandchildren at all afterwards.
A new area of the dungeon has been discovered.
Talia, I wish you would change your ways. Remember back when we were children and would play together by the creek?
And you threw me in?
You dropped a bee's nest on my head first.
Oh, that's right. I remember the way your head swelled up like a melon.
Heroes had entered the dungeon, while the arsonist evil was marching its army around the overworld. Thanks to the demonic portal spell, creatures could instantly be sent back to the dungeon from the overworld. It's payday.
원래 이거 써서 가라 그래. 저거 써서 가라는 식으로 말을 했는데 그냥 작업 판단으로 해결. 골드베이
Spell-wielding evil had seized an arcane tear. The newfound magic allowed it to now use a spell to summon the Prince of Hell.
골드베이 일것 같아. 없나? 이게 끝인가?
A new area has been unearthed in the dungeon.
뭐 있다. 그쵸. 아, 이거는 무한인가 봐요. 써있네. 뭐가 없을 리가 없는데. 응?
A new area of the dungeon has been discovered.
어디서 많이 본 캐릭터인데? 어?
There are enemies in your dungeon. Payday.
여기도 아직 안 뒤져봤고, 여기까지 안 뒤져보긴 했는데. 응?
The fanatic evil's armies reached another.
There's my army. Time for you to die, stepbrother. Go, my creatures! Grab them, run them down, rub hot chili sauce in their eyes, and get me out of this damn cage!
My brothers! In your eyes, I see.
You're not going to repeat that same old crap again, are you? Are you?
Ah, men, stop them! Talia, we have to move on.
The ice in its drink-loving Evil's armies had defeated Tristan's pathetic defenders. Evil's creatures were filled with jubilation, but the disembodied essence of Evil was not yet in the mood to celebrate, for Tristan himself had escaped and still had Talia with him. The lingering without physical form Evil pretended to sigh and once again took up pursuit. The plains of Strotham. The absolute evil continued its efforts to free Talia. The trail led it to the vicinity of the city of Strotham, which was once besieged by undead.
뭐죠? 스페인이 왜 이렇게 많죠? 보여줄 게 뭐가 많나?
These sequences with me in a cage are being stretched out far too long here. Can't we talk this out somehow? Maybe rock, scissors, paper, like in the old days?
Huh. You know I always go for the good old rock. But speaking of stones, I will soon have all the stones of Finichu together. And then...
Nobody gives a damn about your stupid marbles, you dumbass.
While Talia was engrossed in an animated discussion with her stepbrother, the brain-eating evil was already attempting a, more or less, fruitless attempt to free her. Since undead simply resurrected somewhat later in the graveyard after their demise, an unsuccessful onslaught was no great tragedy. Admittedly, the creature-wasting evil probably never took the loss of subordinates too tragically in the first place. But back to the subject at hand. Fortunately, there were ancient mausoleums in the vicinity, which were home to powerful undead and could provide a significant supply of reinforcements. The map-studying evil eagerly took notes.
Ha! See that, Tristan? My armies will free me. Go on, you undead. Knock them down. Eat their brains. I don't know, just do something.
A temple with a sacrificial pit would need to be built before the merciless evil's undead creatures could summon more minions. Quickly, the construction-obsessed evil set about doing just that.
앨리스 요거는 다 설명을 하려고. 나쁘지 않죠? 언데드랑 디모는 거의 똑같은 거 아니에요? 그럼? 죽으면 부활한다는 건 똑같다. 아닌가? 설명을 안 읽어가지고. 이건 어디서 나온 거지? 리펙티브가 90%밖에 안 돼요. 너네 어디가? 아, 컸구나.
Payday!
이게 마지막이겠죠? 그래도
It seems your creatures don't even dare to leave the underground, Talia. But they are not safe there either. Forward, men! Destroy the dungeon in the underground!
언데드가 밥을 먹을 것 같지는 않고. 얘네는 밥을 먹는지 모르겠네. 얘는 밥을 먹네. 뭐야, 이거나 찍자.
Enemies are in the dungeon.
이건데. 아, 끌고 가야 되는구나. 그러니까 언데드가 좋아 보이는 게 없는데, 그럼? 뭐가 있겠죠. 잠자는 거, 돈. 다른 애들도 끌고 갈 것 같죠, 시체? 딱 봐도 오케이. 그런 식으로 한다. 옛날에 스켈레톤 만드는 거랑 똑같네. 안 들어야 되는지 아닌지.
One of the undead creatures that had fallen in battle had gone to rest in the graveyard, only to rise again after some time had passed. The merciless evil was then able to send it back into battle. The sacrificial evil had a temple built complete with a sacrificial pit. The greedy-looking black maw with its dark void seemed to be eagerly awaiting offerings. Presumably, the evil spirits would reward each sacrifice with some soothing blight. The experimental evil set about testing this theorem.
Oh.
With a Wilhelm scream, a little snot disappeared into the depths of the sacrificial pit. This would provide the little snot-burning evil a bit of blight. In fact, the sacrificial strengthened by the captured blight, one of the undead creatures was able to summon a minion to its side. The extravagant evil was satisfied to note that its undead were able to use blight and minions to maximize the number of creatures that could be used carelessly. It seemed as if the sacrificial pit would belch satedly were it not simply an inanimate object. The sacrificial evil had sacrificed enough things for the time being. It was time to go on the offensive.
끝난 것 같아. 할 거.
Enemies have entered the dungeon. The gruesome evil welcomed a Bone Lord into its ranks. Not only could this mighty swordsman both dish it out and take it, but could also summon skeletal mages as minions. It's payday.
짠.
Enemies have entered the dungeon. Payday! Creatures are collecting their pay.
한 번에 하는 방법이 있을 것 같아. 뜯었다. 중국정은 안 해도 되네요. 아, 50까지. 일단 쳐들어가 볼까?
The colourful clothes-wearing evil had discovered a dungeon gate in the underground. Apparently, this was one of the 3 lost burial chambers. All that was needed to benefit from it was to open the burial chamber, presumably with a few firm blows. This was apparently the final resting place of the legendary mercenary army, the Scallywag Ragtags. The pragmatic evil was bound to have an idea as to what it could do with the undead found there. The zombie-like evil had unleashed powerful undead forces. The use of these powers meant each of its undead creatures could both move faster and summon an additional minion to its side. Each additional burial chamber would provide 1 additional minion. Undead forces roamed the land. Additional minions now stood available. powerful undead forces allowed additional minions to rise from their graves.
There, I see my subjects, brave creatures, already appearing on the horizon. Once they get their hands on you, that summer camp will seem like a lovely vacation compared to that.
Ha! My men will stop that vermin. My brothers. In your eyes, I see the same fear that would lead me...
What? That same old crap again? Good grief. Can't you just steal something else? Maybe you should follow Ned Stark's example a little more. That would be a blessing for everyone involved.
The poking around evil had discovered another burial chamber. This tomb was dedicated to the archers of the Scallywag Ragtags. Legend has it that they could miss a barn door even at 10 meters. Their corpses would certainly be put to good use by the self-sacrificing evil. Your gold vein is nearly exhausted.
그러면 통제하죠. 나중에 보니까 얘네 리서치하면 깰 수 있더라고. 레벨 2. 손은 깨지는 게 맞아.
Undead forces roamed the land. Additional minions now stood available.
돈이 없네.
The achievement Accumulating Evil had now discovered the third burial chamber as well. The remains found here were those of the alchemists of the scallywag ragtags, who considered arsenic to be a refreshing mouth gel. These corpses would prove perfect vessels for mindless zombies.
세고 있는구나.
A gold vein has been mined out.
야, 너네 왜 가서 일 안 하냐? 넌 뭐하니? 놀 때가 아닌데 놀고 있네?
Enemies have entered the dungeon. Payday. the resurrected evil unleashed its accelerating undead forces. Additional minions rose. Your enemies are in the dungeon. Powerful undead forces allowed additional minions to rise from their graves. Defend the dungeon heart. Your throne room is under attack.
붙어라 얘들아.
Payday. Defend the dungeon heart. A gold vein is almost exhausted.
환경을 깔아놔야 되나? 그냥 놓고 가야 돼. 이 정도면 될 것 같은데.
Undead forces roamed the land. Additional minions now stood available. Ding dong! It's payday! Your enemies are in the dungeon. The resurrected evil unleashed its accelerating undead forces. Additional minions rose. Your little snots have completely mined out a gold vein. Undead forces roamed the land. Additional minions now stood available.
레벨 3이 끝인가 봐요, 일단.
The resurrected evil unleashed its accelerating undead forces. Additional minions rose. Payday. Powerful undead forces allowed additional minions to rise from their grip.
My armies are getting closer, little brother. Want to go ahead and pick out a nice tombstone? Not that you'll need it when I put your head on a spear.
We do not need to further elaborate on your misdeeds, sister. My armies are not yet defeated, and the hero's courage is unbroken.
The courage may be unbroken, but the spine.
Ha! The vile stench of the undead is still coming ever closer. Forward, faithful! Destroy that vermin!
Problems, brother mine? Is that the sweat of fear I can see on your brow? This reminds me of when you were going to ask Chelsea Chubby Cheeks to prom.
That's not the point here.
And she dumped you because she wanted to take her dog for a walk instead.
The resurrected evil unleashed its accelerating undead forces. Additional minions rose. Undead forces roamed the land. Additional minions now stood available.
게임들이 다 되게 적은 숫자 유닛들만 고용할 수 있게 해놓네.
Free! Free at last! Come on, let's beat them, fry them up, smear them on our toast.
The sovereign evil had freed Talia from the clutches of her stepbrother. Pity, really. I found it quite pleasant not to have someone constantly interrupting me.
I will ignore your insolence for now, but only because I have to deal with that damn Tristan. The step in stepbrother is going to be an architectural statement when I'm done with him.
Lost in her rant, Talia had missed the fact that her stepbrother Tristan had meanwhile made a run for it.
What? That cowardly, dishonest, disgusting!
Talia had been rescued from the clutches of her stepbrother Tristan by the absolute evil. This seemed a bit surprising as, after all, Talia had accidentally caused its demise only one cutscene earlier. But the disembodied essence of the irritated evil was restless due to its lack of physical form. It needed help finding a new body. In such cases, less competent personnel were also called upon. Talia was extremely grateful to have been freed from the cage after 3 long missions. Finding a new body for the absolute evil seemed a small price to pay. High up on the 4th highest peak in the world, Mount Snotmore, resided the venerable Council of Little Snots. These wise beings were the ones who would know what would constitute a new, adequate vessel for the absolute evil. All Talia had to do was reach the peak. A trifle, really, but unfortunately, her stupid stepbrother and his oversized army stood between her and her goal. Otherwise, however, it would have been so easy that even a group of gluttonous hobbits could have managed it. Would Talia succeed in reaching the peak? Would the absolute evil seize control of the world once again? How would Tristan and Talia's rivalry play out? Learn all this in the full version of Dungeons 4. Or I could just tell you all the juicy details now. So, let's get started. So, first off,
아마 이 던전스 1, 2, 3. 던전스 1, 2, 3. 재미는 있는데 그게 없네요. 제가 되게 천천히 즐기긴 했는데 저 뭐냐 뎁스 깊이가 없어. 깊이가 물론 튜토리얼이기 때문에 모른다. 근데 기억에 이게 있든가? 던전스에 다 던전 키퍼에 있던 게 있든가 없든가? 비슷한 게임들을 몇 개 해봐가지고 헷갈리는데 없었던 것 같기도 하고 던전스에는 던전스는 좀 가벼운 게임이었던 것 같기도 하고. 근데 이런 저거 뭐야 농담이나 가벼움이 안 맞으시면 저거 뭐야 옵션에 끄는 방법도 있긴 하거든요. 그 아까 그 토크티브 그 말 많기 적기 뭐 요런 게 있어서 좀 줄일 수 있긴 한데 근데 일단 스토리 라인 캠페인 자체가 가벼워서 되게 농담 따먹기 식으로 진행돼서 그래서 실질적으로 되게 잔인한 게임인데 그거를 그냥 뭐 유머스럽게 넘긴다? 그런 것 같기도 하고 게임은 일단 재밌는데 한번 이런 게임들은 원래 캠페인 한번 싹 돌려주고 뭐 저거 뭐야 유저 커스텀 맵 있으면은 커스텀 맵 돌려주고 이제 아니지 캠페인 돌려주고 컴퓨터랑 이제 그냥 샌드박스 모드는 아니더라도 그냥 커스텀 맵에서 엄청 놀다가 천천히 놀다가 그러다가 이제 나중에 유저들이 만든 맵이 있다면 그런 거 하면서 놀면 되는 그런 거죠. 지금 얘 했고 얘 했고 얘 했는데 시간이 안 될 것 같은. 이 데모들 오늘이 끝인가요? 데모 할 시간 없는데. 근데 이게 몇몇 게임들은 보니까 이건 지워야 되는구나. 이 데모들 나중에 다 지워야 되는구나. 이 몇몇 데모들은 보니까 이번 주에 나오던데요? 이번 주에 나와요. 심지어 나왔던 것도 있는 것 같은데. 이번 주에 안 나오는 애들은 데모 있을라나? 이건 또 뭐지? 요거 유명한가 봐요. 유명? 요거 할만한가 봐요. 요거 사람들이 많이 하더라고요. 요것도 은근히 많이 하고. 빰빰빰. 아직 데모 즐길 것들이 남았는데 리얼타임 택티스 요것도 해보고 싶은데 이것도 전략시물이라고 써있는데 실시간 이것도 있고 액션 RTS 이거 좀 지우고 요것도 뭔지 좀 궁금하기도 하고 딴딴딴. 몇 가지 해볼 것들이 아직 있어서 보고 싶은데 데모가 좀 남아있으면 좋겠네요. 일단은 던전스 4편은 여기까지 하고요. 걷는 거 40분 걷고 와서 약 발라야 되는데 약 바르면 꽤 못하는데 그냥 서서 게임 할까? 서서 약 바르고 서서 게임 하다가 하면 되긴 되는데 일단 이 두 개도 해야 되고 얘도 해보긴 해야 되는데 해볼게. 이거 어쨌든 다들 좋은 하루 보내세요. 그럼 바이바이. 바이바이.